My big worry was the heat and the humidity. You just try to put it aside and just concentrate on your race. My head and everything was still functioning. I knew where I had to go, and through dehydration, your body cramps up. I kind of told myself, try to keep running, try to stay upright. My muscles just didn't respond. I knew if I would stop or sit down, that would be the end of it. I just was determined to make it to that finish line. It was quite special because they had a little ceremony beforehand. They had all the flags, and they said, you know, they announced it's the first women's marathon. And so I think that, besides running in the Olympics, also being part of the first marathon was special. And you know, you wanted to show that it was the right decision for the Olympic Committee to let women run the distance, because there's no, you know, scientific evidence that they can't run it. And there were so many women ran marathons in just road races or around the country, just not in the Olympics. And as the development shows, like in the United States, a lot of the marathons or the shorter races on the roads, the percentage of women now is sometimes bigger than the percentage of men. So it just shows you, you know, it was a good thing that they decided to do that, because definitely I think that helped the women get involved into long distance running. The race for the women, it was the first event of the track and field. I remember warming up, still having my sweats on, and just trying to drink a lot of water. And then definitely the first half went pretty much according to my plan. I had an idea what I wanted to run at each 5-kilometer mark, and I looked at the women around me, and some of them I knew from previous races, and I knew I couldn't run with the leaders. I just wasn't that good, but not everybody can win, and there were a lot of us, you know, that were just in 10th, 15th place, and we kind of ran as a group. And then, you know, after 15 miles or so, the field started to thin out, and you were running a lot just by yourself. And then I think maybe at 20 miles, I started to really feel the heat. But, you know, I thought it's six more miles, you know, and you made it till here, and you're not lost. And it looks good. And then I think, well, then I missed the Lost Water Station. I don't know if it was consciously, or sometimes you're so focused, or you're starting to focus on your body. And anyway, I just missed it, and that definitely had an impact for the last few miles. And I distinctly remember, like, the last mile, I had to slow down, and coming into the tunnel, I really remember that, because I thought it's a little cooler in there, and I knew from here on it's not that far to go. But one of the big problems I had was, you know, I wish I could have had water more often, and especially since I missed that last station. And now the ruling at that time was that you could only get the water at these, I think, 4 or 5 stations that they had set up. I just got dehydrated, and that's why when I got into the stadium, you know, the heat was more intense in there, and also at that point, through dehydration, your body cramps up, And that was my main problem. My head and everything was still functioning. I knew where I had to go, and I kind of told myself, try to keep running, try to stay upright, and my muscles just didn't respond. And so then, you know, it just deteriorated over the last 400 meters. At that point, it was just, I'm in the Olympics, I want to finish this race because this is my one and only chance, because I was already 39 and I knew another 4 years there would be a very slim chance to qualify again. So that made it, if it would have been another race, you know, just another marathon, I would have probably stopped. I think just from the heat in that stadium, I just started to fall apart. But I clearly remember the cheering and the noise. It was just incredible. It was so loud. I didn't expect something like that. So that was, you know, clearly I can hear that, and that probably kept me going too. There was a doctor. He was following me closely and watching me. And later on, you know, he said, because there was a lot of criticism from the press, they say, oh, they should have stopped me and things, but he said, you know, he's familiar with these things, and he said he was watching me closely, and he said as long as I still knew where I was going and showed sign of sweating, that it was okay. And you know, I read now or sometimes see tapes. It's not the first time that it's not uncommon in a hot, long race that people have problems. And I know of a couple other marathon runners that had the same problem, but it happened earlier in the race, you know, on the road, and then they just, you know, quit and got a ride or whatever. And with me, you know, just making it that far, I think it's different. You know, then I think every other person would have tried to finish. I was very relieved, and I was, you know, happy I got to the finish line. And then at that point, I didn't care if I would be, you know, not feeling good for a week. The main thing was I made it, and I didn't think, you know, that I had anything damaged. And it was painful for the first, you know, during that last lap and the first hour in the medical tent, I was in a lot of pain. And but then after 2 hours, I was fine. You know what really surprised me in a very nice way is all the compassion and the reaction of just average people that were watching the games, and then also of the athletes. I was kind of embarrassed that I didn't do well, and I thought I didn't deserve all this attention, and I really kind of felt guilty. And other athletes, they made me feel good because they were so supportive, and I think that was one of the big memories I have from the games. At the time after the Olympics, I would have traded anything for a 10th or 15th place and not having that, what I thought was a spectacle. But you know, now looking back with time, I can see that people kind of identify with you, and because they see the struggle and they see that if you really set your mind to it, you can overcome a lot of obstacles. So that, you know, and it teaches you a lesson too, that besides overcoming obstacles, you have to get over some bad experiences and not dwell on it, and just look forward and learn something, hopefully learn something from it.